Yo, what is going on, Shuffle Squad? I hope you all are having a fantastic day. I'm VolcanTurtleTCG, and today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different for you guys. I've got an interview with one of the most amazing players in the game right now. You might have heard of him. His name is Alex Schemanske, and no, it's not just because he's also on the Shuffle Squad and all that stuff. No, he is an actual amazing player, and I thought it would be really cool to get some insight, some, deeper look into the brain of a top player that a lot of people idolize and see what makes them tick and what they do to prepare for tournaments. So if that is content that you are interested in, where we can talk to a bunch of different pro players besides just players that are on the Shuffle Squad, let us know in the comments below so that we can do more of these interviews. So before we start, as always, check out our amazing sponsors in the description. They really help out the channel. So if you want deals on anything from things like singles, sealed product, or maybe even a coaching session, definitely hit up those links below. So let's jump into the interview. Yo, what is going on, Shuffle Squad? Today, I have a fantastic guest here who does not need an introduction, but if you have, well, I have no self-control when it comes to hyping people up, and we have the United Wings Savant, the EUIC 2023 Duradima Demon winner himself, Alex Schemanske. Alex, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good.
That's great to hear. So just kind of break the ice. How was Charlotte?
Charlotte was great. Obviously, I top aided.
Yes, you did.
I lost again, but I'll take it.
Isn't that what they call the Schemanske curse?
The curse was in theory just me getting second. In reality, it's just me not winning. So sure.
All right. So we're going to start off easy. This whole thing is about getting to know top players and kind of, what goes through their mind as a top player and how people can benefit from learning some things that top players might keep a little closer to their heart. But it's also just to kind of get to know the players themselves. A lot of people kind of just view top players as a threat when it comes to playing against them in big tournaments, and also just a person behind the screen. But we want to kind of like get to know these people. So just a few origin questions for you, Alex. When did you start playing Pokemon?
I think I started at the end of 2010, the start of the fresh season. So I guess the 2011 World season, but the September before it.
Okay. And what made you want to like get into playing the Pokemon TCG?
There's no real like reason we started. I was just like on a trip with a friend, and we were in like 4th grade, and for whatever reason, I was like, I want to play the Pokemon trading card game. So we looked into it, and it kind of just spiraled out of control from there, and here I am.
That's kind of, I feel like, how most origin stories go for like the Pokemon TCG. Did you guys like have your own rules for it? Like you were like those 4th graders that didn't know how to play.
Yeah.
I think we all are. But funny enough, you said we. Because my next question here is something that I feel like a lot of players know, but some new players might not know. But your whole family is a part of the TCG community. Like your mom, Diane Schemanske, she plays, and your brother, Chris, you all play the Pokemon TCG. What kind of made it into a family hobby for you guys?
I mean, Christopher and I were both into Pokemon like before we started playing. So it was kind of just the natural course of things. Like once the decision to look into competitive like Pokemon started, and obviously like we both enjoyed it, and my mom is great. She just like supported us in doing what we wanted to do. In her mind, it was kind of like the same as a travel sport, except she also got to play, because she just isn't able to like sit around all weekend stressing about how her kids were doing. So she just decided to play because it took her mind off of how we were doing in the event.
That's awesome. I wish my mom would play the Pokemon TCG with me, but she doesn't. She thinks every Pokemon's Pikachu for some reason. So your mom's definitely a tier above mine when it comes to Pokemon. So with you guys going to like all these tournaments and all that stuff, what was like the turning point for you that made you go, okay, you know what? I really like this game. I like these tournaments. I think I'm gonna make a thing out of this. So what was it about the tournament aspect or the TCG aspect that made you want to go, I want to just keep doing this?
I don't know like if there's an aspect. Christopher and I both qualified for Worlds in our second year in Hawaii 2012. I top aided. So that kind of just like, I don't want to say proved that like I was good, but like it proved that I could do it. I was not like a good player back then. Like maybe I top four at states and won like a couple cities, but like I wasn't even close to what we have now. Like as our top juniors and seniors, like that didn't even exist back then. Um, so it was just kind of like the world's placement. Plus, just like we made so many friends through this game. So it was just kind of like we got sucked into the whole thing, and it just kept going.
Okay, so it's just kind of like it's not about the journey's end, but the friends you made along the way kind of dealio. It's okay, that makes sense. That's kind of like how I feel about it too. It's like one of the big reasons I stay in is because like all the amazing people that I get to meet every single time, and like the placements and all that stuff. It never really mattered. It was just like having all that fun with your friends and family. So that makes a lot of sense. Okay. So now we got just a little bit of fun facts before we get into the nitty gritty on what goes on in the brain of Alex Schemanske when he's playing in these major tournaments and being the absolute amazing player he is. What was your first Pokemon game?
Red Rescue Team. So it wasn't even a mainline game. The GBA Red Rescue game. Red Rescue Team was my first game. And for whatever reason, I love Mystery Dungeon. The best games Pokemon has ever made by far. So that kind of got me into the franchise itself. And then obviously, like I played the mainline games. I was a kid. What else am I going to do? Emerald, I think, was my first mainline. Might have been Fire Red.
Wow, Red Rescue Team. That was the one that was on the GBA, right?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I remember playing that one back when it came out too. And yeah, the Mystery Dungeon games are absolutely amazing. I'm just blown back that like your first game
Like,
was
so it's not even like it wasn't the current game either. Like we were in Nintendo DS era by the time I started playing like video games. But it just so happened Red Rescue Team was the first game I picked. Like it was probably cheaper. Like it was probably just like, oh, this is Pokemon. Sure, let's try it. And I don't know. It's like it was the first one, and then just kept going.
That's actually awesome. So I bet you're like crossing your fingers that they keep making like Mystery Dungeon games because they made one for the Switch not too long ago. But
yes, it was a remake of Red Rescue Team. So.
So you were just
I would kill for another Mystery Dungeon.
Yeah.
Those things are great.
Okay. All right. So Mystery Dungeon. All right. So what is your favorite Pokemon?
Mew.
Mew. Okay. But we've never seen you like play Mew at a major tournament, have we?
Not Mew VMAX.
Yeah.
I've played it like once. I did badly with it, like 5-3-1. But yeah, Mew has just always been my favorite Pokemon, I think.
Interesting. Okay. I'm just surprised. Why haven't you played any Mew VMAX?
Oh, I hated that. I just hated that. Like I played it right after we got back from COVID, and it was just a miserable experience of mirror matches and Arceus and Teleon. So I just never went back. And every time I try to play it at locals, like I'll just go 1-3 drop because nothing goes well. For how much I love Mew, the deck hates me.
I feel you there. My favorite Pokemon is Torkoal. When they printed Torkoal V, I tried that deck out, and I was just like, this is awful. Like,
Yeah.
why did they do this to our favorites? Okay.
I mean, Mew is supposed to be good. It is good.
Clearly, it's got to be good. Just not in our hands.
Work.
Okay. And last fun fact. If you were a Pokemon gym leader, what type would you specialize in and why?
I have no real answer to this. Probably water type, just because like Piplup is probably my second favorite Pokemon.
Okay.
And you never see a gym leader with a Mew, so
That's
I
fair.
have to be the Piplup guy.
That's fair. You'd have to be the Piplup guy, right? You can't just be you can't be like the first gym leader and be like, Mew, go. Like that kid would just lose it and hightail it out with a starter. Okay. So let's get into this amazing player Alex Schemanski's brain. Let's pick your brain a little bit. We'll start easy, but we're gonna ask some questions that might help current players with their processes when they're going to tournaments. So before we really get into that, you are a member of the Shuffle Squad. You are a pro player on the Shuffle Squad. How did you end up joining the team?
All right. So prior to the relaunch of like the team in 2022 before Worlds, my friend Josh and I were at the North Market in Columbus after NAIC like had concluded. It was like Sunday afternoon. Um, and we run into Zach and Michelle, and Zach's out here like trying to find people because a lot of the good players are already like affiliated with somebody. I had left my sponsorship prior to COVID. Um, so I was just kind of like a free agent. I think I was writing for Channel Fireball still back then. I don't remember. I don't remember when that ended. But either way, like Zach came up to Josh and I and was like, "Do you guys want sponsorship?" Like out of the blue, we ran into each other just randomly, and he just, "Do you want this?" And we were like, "Okay, sure, why not?" And a couple of weeks later, he messaged us with details, and yeah, it happened.
That's hey, you know what? It's always good when they approach you, right? Like
Right?
it's so much easier. Okay. So you are we had talked about this just a little while ago, but you are fresh off of a top 8 at the Charlotte Regionals. Congratulations, by the way. I definitely feel like you got robbed, but
Eh, honestly, that was a fun game. I'm not that upset.
it looked really fun. But you decided to go with a deck that I feel like most of the people at the venue, most of the players, really weren't expecting, which was SableZard. So how did you come to settle on such a specific deck?
Uh, SableZard and I have a history. The entire time of its legality, I have probably played it at least once in every format, whether it's like a major event or not. Like when it first came out, I was probably one of the first people like in the online era. Like it was just like fresh off the online era. I was the one like who won events with SableZard like first, I think. So then it became my brand for a little bit. I played to a regional. I don't even remember how I did. I think I debuted. But like every regional I didn't play it at, people were like, "Are you playing SableZard?" And they're so surprised when I'm not playing it. I'm like, "But everything I do is like swap deck every regional ish." And so fast forward what 2 years now for Charlotte. I guess I'll back up a month. LEIC, when I was still going, SableZard was my play. Like for sure, I was just going to play SableZard, which in hindsight, good thing I didn't didn't go, I guess, because there was a ton of Gardevoir, and that's terrible. But it's just kind of the deck I've been like honed in on for this entire format. And Charlotte was just the second regional I've played in it, so it was the first opportunity other than San Antonio, which we don't talk about, for me to play the deck. And I mean, it was just a really good meta call. Gardevoir's kind of fallen out of favor, or had fallen out of favor, and Urshifu also fell out of favor, and Moon was on the rise. So all of a sudden, like the stars aligned. This deck is broken. Like even like Miraidon and Roaring Moon, half of them aren't even playing Judge or Iono. And SableZard, when you can't hand disrupt, there's probably nothing other than Urshifu that would beat you.
Okay. So that actually segues really well into my next question here, because I feel like when it comes to choosing the decks like you do, and like you had said earlier, the stars had aligned, things were on the rise. This deck wasn't seeing play. This deck was. That is what a lot of people call a meta call. And naturally that is a part of this. That is a skill in this game that, is outside of the game. It's not really necessarily a part of it, but it's outside of it. And it seems like a lot of top players do excel when it comes to making meta calls. So what is your process when it comes to coming to a conclusion on what you think the next meta is going to look like in order to make a proper meta call for the event that you're going to be going to?
So that kind of varies depending on the event I'm going to. Once in a while, I kind of just pick a deck and just full send. I don't test. I just pick a deck. I go over for it. Like for SableZard, this is really bad. I personally played 0 games with the list. Like I had played 1 game in the Roaring Moon against my mom because she wanted to play Roaring Moon, and obviously that was a terrible matchup for her to learn, so it was pointless. So I swapped off of SableZard for that, and then for my groups testing, I already like knew SableZard like the back of my hand, so I never got to play a game with it because everyone else needed more games. So I was the testing dummy, playing everything else. So like I don't know, it really varies. Like once or twice a year, I just pick a deck because it looks fun, and I just do it. And ironically, those are the events that usually go better. Like I'm gonna use NAIC as the example. Like United Wings was a very specific. Okay, there's math here. If we hit the right matchups, we have the run. The deck was, in hindsight, actually kind of terrible, but it functioned. And it was just a matchup roulette deck. So there's like, I guess some of the logic behind how we do things is there's like 5 of us, 4 or 5 of us, depending on the event. And we kind of always acknowledge that one of us is going to have a terrible event if we don't, like if we just plays like, when we play something dumb like United Wings, one of us is going to have the 0-3 run, and one of us might have the top 8 winning run. So like, I guess also part of that is all of us hate playing like triangle decks. So like top 3 meta decks that are usually in a triangle against each other. We just kind of pick slightly off meta to like crazy off meta decks because they're more likely to have the tournament winning run rather than like I could play Giratina 18 times, maybe I'd win, but I would hate myself. It just feels like playing the off meta deck is a little better.
Okay.
So it's kind of how we just like think about it.
So really, it's just I'm gonna sit down. I'm gonna kind of look at what's seeing play. Like you said, like a triangle deck. Kind of see what's seeing play. What's the big meta, and then maybe go off meta. But so long as it's fun, I'm comfortable with it. Then this is a play for me. And the matchups are the matchups, and it is what it is.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and like even honestly, like even if I'm uncomfortable with the deck, like sometimes I'll just pick it. Like Charlotte last year, I had played 0 games with the archetype ever. Like it was what, Articuno Talion. I had never played that deck before. I didn't even know what Radiant Alakazam did. I was reading my cards during my first round. I felt really bad for my first round opponent because like I didn't know what anything did. But like I went 8-0.
I remember
so just
that.
kind of like, I don't know, like I just pick decks, which is a terrible way to do it. But it's fun, and like, it works out usually.
But I think that's like some decent advice at the end of the day, though, because when it comes to a lot of new players trying to learn certain skills like meta calling or anything like that, at the end of the day, you kind of just have to have fun. You're going to be playing 9 rounds of Pokemon. It's a lot of Pokemon. It's all best of 3. You want to make sure that you're not just, hurting your brain with a deck that you've really rather not play, but you're going to play because it's one of the better decks in the format. So, no, I think that's good advice. So long as you're comfortable, it's fun, and you think you got some decent matchups, because you do want to do well, of course. So you can't just go in with 1 block lax and 59 energy, but like you want to make sure that you're having fun. So no, I think that's amazing advice. Just kind of see what's on the trends and pick something a little off and have fun with it. No, I like that. That's a great answer, because that's exactly what I did for Charlotte.
Right.
Okay, so you, and we've mentioned these already, you have a lot of achievements under your belt. All right, so we got, you know, your EUIC 2023 winner, Players Cup 4 winner. I feel like a lot of people that are gonna watch this video have no clue what Players Cup is, but Players Cup 4 winner, and more top eights that I can even count because you had mentioned one that I even know about. Like there's tons of top eights, but which event do you think was like the most special to you?
EUIC for sure.
It had, I knew it.
Like it's that or 2012 Worlds. But UIC probably is like, I finally broke the curse. Like it was just a really good experience in general.
Just like
Yeah.
that confirmation that wow, I can do this, you know,
I
like
can win,
we
right?
can
Like,
do it.
right?
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. You know, I feel like a lot of players, you know, when they go into these events and they do kind of not great, they really dig down on themselves. But I think that maybe remembering an event that you just kind of like had fun at and stuff like that is the motivation you need to be like, you know what, I know I'm not a bad player. I just had a bad run or something, which happens to all of us. It happens to all of us.
Oh, for sure.
Like I'm sure you can confirm that, you know, you've been to events, even if they're just like locals or cups or anything like that, where maybe you went 1-3, maybe you just did not do good. You know what I mean? Like, even though people look at pro players like invincible walls, you have your bad days too, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Like I mean, San Antonio. What I went 3-3-3. That was terrible.
It happens. It
Like
happens.
it happens.
Nothing
Like
you can do.
every player, no matter who you are, is going to have a terrible run. Like we can look at Azul start of the season. He had multiple drops in a row, and he's what top 8 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
Like
It
so, like
happens.
that. No matter who you are, as long as you are playing this game legitimately, you are going to have bad runs.
Well said. All right. So here's a fun one, kind of like a brain teaser, because this is something that you usually kind of do depending on the situation you're in, right? And that is sequencing. Now, this is an extremely hard skill for some players to learn because it can depend on what's in your hand. But when it comes to the process of it, it's usually the same goal. You're trying to make sure that you're hitting things correctly or you're doing things correctly. So when it comes to your process of sequencing, what do you mostly think about?
So this is actually really funny. I am presumably, hopefully, good at sequencing. I've never been told I'm bad at it, so at least that's
something.
the thing. My thing is I don't think about it. Like, sure, I could sit there and calculate the odds of everything that I'm doing. Like, I'm sure I have done that before. But I'm at the point where it's just like I know that like okay, Greninja first, always correct in this spot because I need XYZ. Like if I make a mistake, it's not because I don't know the sequencing. It's just because I didn't like do it right. So like I don't know.
It's a hard question.
People ask me logic on like some plays I make, and I'm like, I don't know, it's just correct. And like it is correct. I can't tell them why it's correct, but it is correct.
Mm-hmm.
So like honestly, like testing me with me is obnoxious because I'm like, okay, this is correct. People ask like my opponent be like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I don't know. This is just like how it should go. I don't know. Like,
Did your math teacher like you when you were in school because you'd probably just give them the answer but didn't show your work, kind of like?
I learned to show my work in school. Pokemon was the escape. I don't need to show my work here.
I mean, yeah, that makes sense. Is like I think the big thing about sequencing, right, is that if you know you need to at least, if you know that you're looking for something, like let's just, for example, you need to find boss for game. It's kind of just like what's the route I can take to see the most cards? And if you've been playing for a long time, you kind of just auto do it and you don't really need to think about it because you know if I do this over this, I'll see more cards this way than this way, which gives me better odds to find the card I'm looking for. So it's, you know, I feel like a lot of players do it differently. Not thinking about it though is something I I haven't heard yet.
There's so many like examples of me texting people and just like they'll ask me like specific questions and I'll be like, here's the answer, but Why? I don't know. Just do it. So yeah.
Hey, if it's there, if it's in the deck, the odds aren't zero, right? Like, just do it. Okay. So, a little bit easier question now. I think we're off like the harder questions because they're the little funnier questions there. But so in your opinion, because if you look at your Limitless page, you've played a ton of different decks, a ton. So in your opinion, what do you think makes a good deck good, and what makes a bad deck bad? Is it necessarily like just the meta, or is there like a secret formula that just makes Zard so good, or makes this deck so good?
Uh, I'm probably the wrong person to ask because like, you'll look at my Limitless page.
And see
There's no
United
Lugia.
Wings.
There's no Charizard. There's no Gardevoir. There's Giratina. But like, I'm really bad at playing the inherently good decks. But like, what makes a deck good usually, like using Charizard as the example, it's extremely linear. It's extremely powerful. There's less room for things to go wrong. There's less room for variance. I'm not like, on the flip side, it's easier to counter. Like, the game plan is very linear. So things like that, like Charizard is a good deck, obviously, because Charizard is a good card. So cards like Charizard are always going to be good in some form. Bad decks. Let me grab my Limitless page because there's probably a billion examples.
But see, this is why I wanted to ask you this question so specifically, because if you ask anybody, hey, is United Wings a good deck? They're going to say absolutely not.
Oh, absolutely
but
not. United
Alex
Wings is
Schemanske
terrible.
got 64th at NAIC with it, so it's got to have some merit. It's got to be good. So that's why I have to ask the question.
No, my Limitless page is full of terrible decks that I can't explain half of them. Like United Wings. So in the theory, like, if we looked at the theory we had going into the event, I should have been in top 8. I wasn't in top 8 because United Wings is an inherently terrible deck. Like, I just lost to good matchups because my deck was terrible. So we didn't calculate that, and it's the worst result than it could have been. So like, you look at that deck and you're like, okay, this deck actually beats nothing. But because nobody is ever actually seriously tested against it, I have lines to win that they don't know about, and they're not playing around my lines. They don't know what I'm doing. Nobody knows I play a Gallade. Like, people aren't testing into these things. So you play decks that people aren't working against, and they don't have like all 3 lines to win against United Wings in their head. Like, nobody does that. I might, because I'm like stupid, but like, that's the value of playing the bad deck. Like, people aren't ready for it, and when you play the bad deck and you do well with the bad deck, it just like, it's because things went well for you, not necessarily because your deck was good.
Which makes sense, right? Because, I think a big part of the game is element of surprise, and like you said, nobody's testing against United. I guarantee you right now there isn't a single soul testing against United Wings, and someone out there is playing that deck with de-evolution, and it is beating Charizard right now as we speak. Okay, like, nobody is seeing that happen, but it's kind of like, some bad decks, they exist, but that element of surprise can make it feel and look so good, so long as it has the damage output, the proper routing, the not so linearness, but like you have the right routing that they might not see, that gives you certain results, if that makes sense, right? Like, United Wings don't hit too hard, but if playing against the right things, it hits hard enough. Like,
right, like, there are decks that just like have specifically good matchups. Like, what's a good example of this? Say I'm playing Quad Mimikyu into a meta full of Charizard. I might just win the event. My deck is absolutely terrible. But like, if I just have the run, sure, I won. That doesn't make my deck good.
right. Because I don't know anyone that wants to play Quad Mimi. But yeah, at the end of the day, it does come down to like if you get the right pairings, if there's a lot of luck that can go into that. There's a lot of luck that can go into that. Okay. So, this is going to be a controversial question because everyone's going to have their own opinion on it. But what do you think makes a player good at the game? What are some of the little things that people need in order to be watched and be like, oh, yeah, that person's really good at the game?
I don't know how to answer this.
It's a hard one.
Right. So, like, there are some people you watch them play and you're like, oh, they know what they're doing. Like, if I watch someone play and they're, like, extremely smooth with their actions and, like, they're doing it correctly, you know that they're probably just inherently good at the game. I don't have any examples like currently, but I can't use myself. That's stupid.
No,
That
you can
sounds
use this.
terrible.
This is all about you. This is why we
Like,
got
so
you
I'm
here.
going to use myself. Like, I play this game extremely fast. And like I'll have people like watch me play SableZard and be like, whoa, you're making these decisions in like half a second. It's because like I understand like the consequences of each like decision without having to actively think about it. So like things like that like are how you tell someone is actively good at the game. That doesn't mean like people who are slow aren't good at the game, but like if you can tell like just the smoothness of what they're doing, they don't have to like sit there and calculate the odds of everything. They're inherently good at the game. Obviously, if they're doing it wrong, then they might just be bad at the game. But sure.
Yeah, you can be fast and still do the wrong thing.
Right. It's not about speed. It's just about like the fluidness of how you're playing it, I guess. I don't know. There's no real good like way to describe it. And it's just like the people who can continuously adapt to metas. Like there are some people, we call them Mewbots, who just stick with the same deck, and it rewards them eventually, right? Like, we look at these Mew players' Limitless pages, and it's full of Mew, and that means they're succeeding. Like, maybe they win an event, maybe they top 8. I don't want to like. They're not bad at the game, obviously. They're extremely good at one deck. Does that translate well to other decks? Is like the question you have to ask. So like you look at Azul's Limitless page, it's extremely diverse. You know he's a good player without even watching him play. You know that his results show like success in like diverse metas, different game, like different periods of the game. He's always been good. So it's just kind of like a combination of I want to like call it ability to like adapt on the fly. Because like you're at like pretend you're at NAIC and you're playing against United Wings. You've never tested this matchup. Maybe it's terrible for you. You don't know. You have to figure out those lines to win in like minutes. And like that's part of why I lost at NAIC. Like I played against Brent Tonneson, and obviously he's a good player. He figured out his line into me way too fast with Gardevoir, and I lost. So like it's just kind of a combination of a bunch of factors that like you can tell some people are good. Maybe it's not visually obvious for some people, but it's just kind of like you watch people play enough, you know when they're good.
And that makes sense, right? I mean, you can definitely tell instantly who is the good player and who is maybe not so strong at playing the game, right? Which kind of leads to the next question. There is like, for the players that are actively trying to get better at the game, and you make these comparisons to what the good players are doing. Do you think that more players should be adopting what players like yourself do, where you just kind of like go at it with a different mindset than what other players are doing. Like you're see, when I started this, I was thinking he's gonna give me like all the like the sauce and all the juicy info of top players and stuff like that, and you just literally came in here like, I wing it, I just go, just whatever's on the brain, I do that instead. It's like the opposite of what I think anybody was expecting, but you show amazing results behind it too, so it shows like a completely different, you know, person that I think a lot of people expect pro players to be. If that makes sense, like you're
Right. Like,
not offensively, it's just like I think players, especially like new players, have this idea of what pro players are thinking, what they're doing, and how they test
mhm.
and all that stuff. That image is burnt in their brain. But you do it so much kind of like what a casual player might already do. They just play something fun. They might do something like what you do. It's just like, I play this one deck for a little while and I move on to another deck so long as it's fun. I don't need to play the Charizard deck. I don't need to play this deck. I just want to have fun. And I think that's super relatable that, it's like a lot of players do play like you do. And that's something that they can just take to heart, knowing, oh, you know what? I don't need to be like what I pictured a top player to be. I can just be like Alex Schemanske, what I'm already doing. And it kind of like makes that divide of what, a quote unquote good players, what you envision a good player to be. Because when it comes to good players, I think exactly what you thought, or what you were saying. It's like, if they can make these fast calculated decisions and all that stuff, they could do this, that, and the other. But the major difference there is the fun aspect, right? Because I feel like a lot of players that are trying to get into the game, they want to be as good as Alex Schemanske. They want to be as good as Azul. They want to, everybody wants to be that good. I want to be that good. Come on. Who doesn't want to be that good? But I think the major thing that a lot of those players just forget about is the thing that you said earlier, was just like, playing something fun matters. If you're playing something fun, then you can be an extremely good player just by playing something fun, which is absolutely amazing advice that I feel like people need to hear. People definitely need to hear that. So I guess the last thing I have to ask you is, which I feel like we've already kind of covered it, but like, for new players coming to regionals, you've been to all these events, you've got all this experience under your belt, all of these amazing achievements and accomplishments. Someone coming in, what advice would you give them to slowly start progressing to finally get that day 2?
Right. I mean, I'm always bad at this because I never like was in a spot in the modern era where I was like in the day 2 is my mentality position. So like what I kind of do, like I don't think about what I do. I just kind of do it. But you kind of just like take the game one match at a time. You don't think about, oh, I'm going for day 2. I've got to win this, like, got to win 3 more. No, you take it. I need to win 1 more. I need to win 1 more, and I need to win 1 more. Like, sure, you could just have the 5-0 run, like thinking about, oh, I'm going 5-0, or I need to go 5-0. But it hits harder when you're thinking, oh, I need to go 5-0, and then you don't. So like, I always just go, okay, I'm winning this round. I actually did this. Was really bad about this in Charlotte. It was like round 2, and I'm like, yep, I'm top 8ing this event. Obviously that worked out, but it's just kind of like, you have to have a good mentality. Yes, we're all here to win, but yes, we're also here to have fun. I think some people lose that as they get quote unquote better at the game, but like, it's not the end of the world if you don't day 2. Like, you're playing a Pokemon event, you can't stress yourself out about it too much, otherwise that stress gets to you and you start playing terribly. So yeah, I think it's just kind of like, play every game in a vacuum.
Yeah, I can't agree more with you there. Like, I think that was something that I kind of just, me personally, if you, if you're watching this, and you're like, oh, That's something I never thought about. It's just like maybe I should have fun and stuff. Like when I first started playing, I thought, you know, oh, my only goal is to literally just do this, you know, win, 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 win. I gotta win. I gotta make day 2. I have to be explosive coming out the gates, right? When my mentality should have just been all about having fun. And, you know, and like you said, Alex, it's like if you lose that along the way and you start stressing, you're gonna start misplaying. It's gonna hit you harder. And that's, you know, that's what I did for Charlotte. I was just like, I do not care. I'm playing a deck I've never played before. I'm gonna have some fun. And I made my very first day too. Like, it's all about how you tackle it mentally. And I'll tell you, man, my round 4 opponent, that was fun. That was fun. We sat there and sang the Bluey theme song. And we were just doing nothing, just going back. And the judges were coming up like, Mom, Dad. Like, it was just super fun. And I think that's really, really, really good advice. So if you're going out to your very first regional, maybe even your first challenge or cup, you know, a local event, if having fun isn't on your mind, I think you might be playing the game wrong. You can't just be only having the winning mentality, because the minute you lose, you're going to start letting it hit you a little harder. Because at the end of the day, I think you're just supposed to have fun with this game, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just play it for fun myself.
Right.
You know? It's like but I think that is all we have. Of course, thank you for joining me tonight, Alex. It absolutely means the world to me, and I know it's going to mean the absolute world to anybody that's been looking for this kind of advice, that maybe they just needed to hear it from a bigger name in the community. So honestly, thank you for this time. It does mean the world.
Yeah, for sure.
Is there anything you want to say to anybody watching this video that I haven't asked you, or something that's on your mind, or anything like that?
Not really.
No?
Like, honestly, I think I've said a lot of words. Did it make sense? Who knows? But I've said enough of them.
I'm sure the comments will tell us if any of us made sense, right? But thank you so much for joining us in the comments below. If you have a question that maybe we didn't answer, or Alex didn't answer, or I didn't ask because I'm terrible at writing questions, leave your questions below and obviously we can get to them. But thank you for watching. And who do you want to see next on this type of interview video? Because, hey, this advice could help you in the future. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.
Want to support the Shuffle Squad? Be sure to check out all of our sponsors in the description to pick up Pokemon TCG singles, sealed, and PTCG live codes. Hey trainers, tired of having too many cards lying around? I know that feeling, and I know what a hassle it is to try and sell those cards. But selling bulk is now easier than ever with TCG Bulk. Find tons of potential buyers in a single place. You just download the app, look for the best buyer near you, and carefully pack your bulk, ship it, and you get paid. It really is that simple. Turn the cards you don't want into the cards you absolutely need for your next deck. You made it to the end. Thank you so much for watching this entire video from the Shuffle Squad. Honestly, from the bottom of our hearts, we appreciate each and every person that supports our content, watches what we have going on every single day, every single week, even from time to time, and continuously allows us to have a forum to project our creative content towards the Pokemon TCG community. So if you haven't already, be sure to give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and even leave a comment to help boost the YouTube algorithm. That being said, we'll catch you with our next video. Thanks again. Take it easy.